Will Ben Reilly finally be able to cure his mind of all the horrible damage done to it by the Beyond Corporation, or will fate intervene once again? Well, let's hop into the pages of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 48 and find out together, shall we? Alrighty then, so as we join the story, we actually look on an impromptu therapy session being held for Ben and Janine by Dr. Kafka, aka the Queen Goblin. Janine spills her guts and actually gets so damn close to actually saying something poignant when she brings up the fact that everything her and her love have tried to do to get his memories back have only seemingly served to dig them into a deeper and darker hole. Basically, she's having a whole "are we the baddies" moment. Queen Goblin, though, says that they don't need to worry because she has the ultimate trump card up her sleeve, and if they put her faith in her, then surely they can win back Ben's lost memories. I mean, they're also gonna have to forget about former old grudges because they were enemies the last time they met. But don't worry, I'm sure Queen Goblin trying to kill Ben was one of the memories that went missing, even though Janine should almost certainly know better. Now, I said it in the previous issue, and I stand by it, all of this is actually a pretty damn solid setup for an issue here. Could Ben actually get his memories back if they make use of Roderick Kingsley's Winkler device? I mean, after all, if it can make Ned Leeds think that he's the Hobgoblin and go out to commit crime, surely it can put back whatever Ben lost. I mean, it would be so easy and so simple a fix, right? Unfortunately, we're reading Amazing Spider-Man in the year 2024, and even good ideas, even simple ideas, all seem to fall apart or crash and burn for no second. Again, try and wrap your head around this one right now. Ben and his people want to use the Winkler machine to try and repair his memory so he won't be a bad guy anymore. Peter and Betty want to use the Winkler device to try and clear Ned Leeds' name with the police. There's absolutely zero reason why they can't do both of these things back to back, but out of the blue, it's decided that they really need to clear Ned's name right now, even though there's no ticking clock or anything. Dr. Kafka once again plays the whole evil psychiatrist card by trying to stir Chasm up, saying that Spider-Man must really hate him and that his development as a person scares him so much that he'll take any excuse not to help him. And again, I know this is a villain speaking here, but Jesus Christ, the longer they drag out all this stuff with Ben, the more that kind of feels true. Ben straps himself into the machine and begins the procedure while Hallows Eve puts on her not quite Jason slasher mask to chase Betty and Spider-Man out of the room. Peter tries to make a case saying that Queen Goblin is evil and that she can't be trusted and that she already used the machine once before to make Ben think that he was the Hobgoblin again. So surely there's nothing stopping her doing the exact same thing to Ben, even though I don't actually remember why she did it to Kingsley and Leeds in the first place. It's been so long. And furthermore, since the last time we saw Queen Goblin, she had the evil sins of Norman Osborn taken out of her and had actually kind of helped Spider-Man after a fact, so there's really no reason for Peter to be so damn suspicious. Dr. Kafka literally has no reason in the world to hurt Ben, but because this story is incredibly dumb, we find out she actually is gonna try and hurt Ben anyway. The reason they give is the absolute worst too. Kafka says that she blames Ben for everything that happened to her at Beyond and why she got turned into a monster fused with Norman's sins, even though, if you remember that story, Dr. Kafka was actually one of the only people inside Beyond who was actually trying to help Ben from being manipulated, and when she got too close, the company turned her into a supervillain to go after him, so it's really Beyond's fault, yet for some reason Kafka is choosing to blame Ben for something he didn't do. Ben, as I mentioned before, also very conveniently doesn't actually remember the relationship that he had with Kafka previously, what with them both bonding over being clones and Ben actually creating Kafka clone during his own Jackal phase. Because God help us, if they remembered that, this story might actually end up being interesting, but no, we have to be denied at every turn. Okay, but is there anything actually I enjoyed about this story? Well, there's one minor thing I did enjoy. Betty actually tries to break on through to Hallows Eve and get her to see sense, because at the end of the day, they've actually lived very similar lives, what with both loving men with serious demons. Even though their situations are really different and not one-to-one, it's just kind of nice to have these two characters allowed to have a moment together independent from all the other clone nonsense that's going on. They also seek to heavily imply that Peter had actually had the Winkler machine used on him at one point too, but he doesn't actually remember any of it, which is one of those things that, while certainly not important now, I can only imagine will end up coming up later. Peter swoops on in to defend Ben from getting Goblin goblinized. And you think to yourself, oh, is this a moment where Ben is maybe going to rediscover the joys of being a hero and fight side by side with his clone brother? Nah, him and Hallows Eve just totally screw off once the getting's good. Later on, though, they end up having an incredibly forced conversation wherein they think, hey, you know what, maybe having your memories lost, maybe this is a good thing. Those were Peter's core memories, not yours. Now's your chance, Ben, to finally strike out on your own and be your own man. And all I can think is, oh, they're not putting it back because they've already made Chasm and Hallows Eve action figures, right? Oh, but we're still not done, because as the comic ends, we're treated to a little stinger where we once again see what the newly assembled Sinister Six is up to. They plan to attack Oscorp, but not to go after Peter or Spider-Man. No, their target is actually the Living Brain. What's that about? I don't know. I guess we'll have to pick up the next issue and find out, or don't. I'm sure at this point it won't really matter. And so that was Amazing Spider-Man issue number 48, everybody, and goddamn, this issue really did feel like a steel-toed nut kick. And I really only have myself to blame. I must be really bad at pattern recognition, because I seem to keep doing the same thing over and over again, where Zeb Wells will have a couple pretty solid issues, introduce some fun ideas, make it look like he's going to tie up some loose ends, and maybe move forward into a fun and interesting direction, only to have all the good ideas turn to ash before my very eyes in an attempt to keep what has to be one of the most ridiculously inconsistent status quos I've ever read. Again, I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but it bears repeating. If you're not going to actually help Ben move on, if you're not going to actually restore what was broken, then why the hell did you bother keep trotting him out? It's like, either fix him or just leave him the hell alone. And again, I wouldn't actually care and be invested in Ben's story if you didn't actually make him the main Spider-Man POV character there for like a year. Which again, because so much time has passed now, I think a lot of people are starting to forget, I know I'm starting to forget, that Beyond was actually pretty good and actually pretty interesting, until they just decided to nuke it all at the very end. This also just kind of ends up being another Spider-Man story where Peter Parker himself could have just not shown up and basically everything would have happened more or less the same. Which again sucks, because it actually looked like they were showing some signs of improvement, what with giving Peter an actual worthwhile new love interest to chase. Overall, I would just give this one a 4 out of 10. I genuinely felt bad after reading this one, but I feel even worse because I got my hopes up about it. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow, and help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye bye.